Welcome to Culture Talk. This is the segment where we talk about the intersection of faith and pop culture and how culturally relevant topics can be used to start conversations about your faith. I'm joined today with Kathy Ross. Kathy, thank you so much for joining me. I know you're a player with words. You love to not only write really well, but edit a lot of Hugh's books.
Thank you. I love words. I used to sit in the library at USC and read the dictionary, and people thought, strange, and they're right.
Well, I'm glad you're using that strangeness to help our words here at RTV. And speaking of words, recently I saw some books at a Christian bookstore, and it made me think how we use words. The titles had things like reaching the lost or the unsaved, the unbeliever. And I thought, you know what? This is common language that we use, but how would a person who isn't a Christ believer, how would they respond? So let's talk about these words.
Think about sitting next to someone on an airplane and you're reading a book about reaching the lost, and this person is not a follower of Christ. You see, the problem I have with that, and I think Sharon Ellison points this out really well in her book called Taking the War Out of Your Words. Certain words trigger an immediate emotional reaction. I mean, it's almost so fast that you're not aware of it, but they trigger something in the deep part of your brain, it's the limbic system, that puts you on the defensive. It gets emotions running, and it actually clouds the capacity to think and communicate calmly. The last thing we want to do when we're trying to have a conversation about spiritual truth is to trigger someone and waste a whole bunch of time and energy dealing with trying to get off the defensive place and get to a comfortable conversation place.
Right, and that's a really good point, because I think sometimes there can be some pushback that, well, I don't want to be, censoring myself. People are too sensitive. But why do we want to do that? What are some tips that you would even give to encourage people to say maybe not this word, but that word, so that we can not waste so much time when we're trying to share the gospel, but we can actually start to have an impact in these conversations?
Well, being mindful of the other person, or just the setting that we're in, that can be helpful. Depending on where you are, you can be a little more alert sometimes. But basically, think in positive terms. I think the more positive we can be in describing people as, say, truth seekers or not yet followers. I like the idea of calling people truth seekers, or people with doubts, people with questions, questioners, or curious people. They haven't yet drawn their conclusions. They haven't yet come to that place of faith. But let's refer to them as much as possible in positive terms, and not try to make it sound like there are insiders and outsiders. I think I like to be thoughtful about insider language versus outsider language. So if we can just be mindful of that, I think we'll do so much better.
Excellent advice, Kathy. Can you name the book again?
Yes, it's called Taking the War Out of Our Words by Sharon Ellison. And it's a helpful book for even interrelational communications anywhere, anytime.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm excited because it sounds like a really good book. I definitely want to check it out. And those of you watching, I really hope that this conversation will help encourage you to just think about the language that you're using in conversations and maybe change them up a little bit so that you can make a deeper impact when sharing your faith.